Thank you, Heather. The second speaker for the negative, Grant Robertson, you're still MP.
Thanks, Hugo. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kia Stephen, good to see you here. My thanks to the Vic Debating Society for the invitation tonight. My observation of university debating societies over the years has been that they tend to be dominated by people from whichever side of the political spectrum is not in power at any time. So it's such a pity then that Labour people will not feel the need to be part of it for years to come. I feel like I've entered a parallel universe, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Kerr quoted Karl Marx and claimed to be an anti-tour protester. John Minto quoted Milton Friedman. And Heather Roy thinks she's going to be a minister. It's interesting that Roger mentioned Sweden too, because I look forward to the Business Roundtable's application of a 60% top tax rate, 1 year's paid parental leave, and a combination of policies that lead to the government spending being almost half of GDP. in Sweden. John's actually pointed out to you the two key differences in the Swedish voucher scheme, that of not being able to charge top-up fees and not being able to choose who goes there. Heather Roy asked us a question: why do I not let you choose your school when you can choose your cereal? The problem is you answered the question, Heather. You have chosen your school for your children. You told us that at the start of the speech. So you've done it. We've answered the question for you. Heather also did something which is quite difficult with me. She managed to make me into a straw man. I'm a big man, it's hard to make me into a straw man because Heather seemed to know an awful lot about what we were going to say, except that we hadn't said it. I think the problem here is a delusional state common to people in the ACT Party. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go behind the arguments that proponents of voucher systems in education raise, expose the real agenda, and outline why I think those arguments are flawed in the New Zealand context. I then intend to look at the New Zealand education system and outline why I think a voucher system is unnecessary, how in fact we're achieving innovation and quality, and I also want to outline what I consider to be some more important issues in terms of education that New Zealand should be focusing on. And if there's time, I'm going to make some gratuitous comments about the National Party's education policy. Not because it matters particularly for the debate, but so Stephen's got something to blog about tomorrow. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, neoliberals and real estate agents have much in common. It's not just the cheap suits and the bad hair. They both have taken Orwellian doublespeak to new heights. Just as a house with loads of potential, character features and great indoor-outdoor flow is actually a collapsing villa with centuries-old pipes and no back door. We know that right-sizing means slashing jobs, a market correction is a bloody great loss, and school choice is actually about privatising education and preferencing the already wealthy. Let's take the core arguments for voucher systems in turn and seek some real meaning. Argument 1. The market model will drive responsiveness, foster diversity, innovation, efficiency and quality. The real meaning here is that private education is better than public education because, well, just because actually. Just like railways and airlines, it's so much more efficient in the private sector's hands, isn't it? The unshakable belief that the private sector knows best looked a bit wobbly in the weekend, I thought. Not only did we have reports of botched operations in private hospitals, we also learned that students from state schools do better in their first year of university than those in private schools. Kathy Wiley's 1998 study of voucher system remains the only comprehensive investigation in the New Zealand context. And her conclusion is that there is little empirical evidence for claims of the market model. Her research shows that institutional competition does not play the dominant role in education quality or achievement, nor does it increase innovation, diversity or access. John's noted that education is not a clean market situation. This is because education is not a commodity like cereal in the traditional market sense of the word. The players in the equation, parents, students, teachers, society as a whole, do not have the clearly delineated roles of provider and consumer. Changing schools is not like changing hairdressers when you get a bad haircut. Education is a two-way street. The consumer, if you want to use that word, is as much a part of the success as the provider. continuity, stability, the role of peers are all important components in educational achievement. As for efficiency, the evidence in the Wiley study is that vouchers and competition in fact add to the costs of education, where they take into account developing private schools, the cost of transport, and the need for spare capacity in the system to allow parents to exercise choice. The second argument, parents make the best decisions about the education of their children. This piece of rhetoric is actually not about parents, it's about neoliberal distaste for so-called bureaucracy. Parents are of course in a good position to understand their own child and will no doubt attempt to work in their best interests. But the job of a so-called bureaucrat is to think about the education of all children in New Zealand, and indeed of the benefit of that education for all New Zealanders. This of course is not to say that there's no role for parents, and here John and I differ slightly. In New Zealand we do have parents crucially involved in their schools through boards of trustees. They help set the direction of schools, they monitor progress towards achieving goals, and they do play an important role. The third argument, students from low-income backgrounds will have better access to good schools where there is free choice. The translation of this neoliberal thinking here is if we can incorporate a benefit for low-income people, then our argument will make it hard for bleeding heart liberals to oppose us. The problem is that once again, the evidence doesn't stack up. From the Wiley study again, the conclusion is increasing competition among schools for students and funding can benefit only a small minority of students at the expense of the majority, and can lead to lower student achievement in schools serving students from low-income homes. But in the end, I think, with respect to the debate in society, the whole talk of the voucher system is an absolute red herring. Debating school structures, who owns them and how they're funded, is quite frankly so last century. Parents are not clamouring for change, they actually like the schools and support their teachers. We don't need a voucher system because we are achieving the goals of innovation, diversity and quality in our current system, albeit with room for improvement. I think New Zealand has struck a good balance with our approach to educational provision. We've moved away from a fully centralised system to allow for schools to be connected to their communities while still being part of the overall fabric of an education system that is meeting our country's hopes and needs. Tomorrow's schools have given parents a role, as I've mentioned. We've managed to develop diversity with kura kaupapa, and there is still choice in terms of integrated and private schools, and what is more, they still manage to attract subsidy of the kind. Contrary to popular belief, our system actually encourages innovation. Our curriculum is the envy of many nations. It truly is. It provides direction and support, but leads the way open to try different things. Two examples. At Alfriston College in South Auckland, they have developed Year 10 and Year 11 courses that cast pupils as detectives in CSI-style crime scenes with a combination of maths, science and social science achievement standards. Or there's a school in the North Island that provided text updates for students. Or the school in Partia that's taken the role of a plant nursery, everything from ecology. Our results are good as well. Our senior age are in the top 5 in the OECD in terms of literacy and maths. Our Year 5 students are, to coin a phrase, in the top half of the OECD. And we've shown significant improvement in maths and science over recent years. It's not to say that things don't need to improve. We do still have an unacceptably long tail in the education system, but the throw the cards in the air approach of introducing a voucher system is not the way to address that. The evidence tells us that the key determinants in achievement in education are what happens in the classroom. It is investment in teaching that is the key to moving our education system forward from being a very good one to being one of the very best. We do need to pay our teachers better. Roger and I have finally found something to agree on. We need to support them to develop professionally through things like sabbaticals. We give them well-paid support staff, give them the technology to do the job. The Government Schools Plus initiative provides some of the possible answers going forward. I acknowledge that this kind of role for schools will require significant additional funding. Schools Plus ensures that a child will stay connected to a school while pursuing the plans that work for them. My partner's 17-year-old son lived with us straight after leaving school, and he struggled in his apprenticeship because of lack of structure, and he could have done with a bit more in the way of maths and English as well. He would have been a perfect candidate for the kind of learning plan encouraged by Schools Plus. Just to finish. Time short. So just one thought on the National Party's education policy. I predict that John Key's plan for increasing funding to private schools will be very popular among a group of first-time voters. And I don't mean ex-King's College pupils. Just look out at the polling booth for the men with no ties and the women wearing headscarves.